Sophie, welcome to Podcastina.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you. AI is just the hottest topic of the day, and I would love to kind of start in a broader sense and work our way down. Is AI something we need to worry about or fully embrace?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I think we need to embrace it for sure. I don't think the way that a lot of people are embracing it is the best way, though. Like, I think a lot of people, and not their fault, but I think a lot of people who work in corporate maybe haven't been trained on how to use it accordingly, or don't know if they're allowed to use it, don't know what's what, can't keep up, and it feels really overwhelming. So there's definitely a change management and adoption lag a little bit there, but I think we should embrace it. Absolutely, it's where everything is going. But at the same time, I don't know if you just saw OpenAI or ChatGPT, the company behind ChatGPT, released Sora, which is a video editor.
Yes.
And yeah, so essentially, like this clip of you right now, I could take 5 seconds of it and then I could go to Sora and be like, "Okay, make Galena rob a bank," and it will create a lifelike video of that. So that is scary. And I really hope they put some guardrails around that because they're just moving at the speed of light here. So it's a very nuanced answer and it really depends on the day.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And this kind of like worked out great that we're recording today because I just came across this article yesterday that I think is so important that OpenAI is kind of having to pivot. I don't know if you know about like the details of what's going on, but they're kind of, it seems like grasping at straws, like maybe the user retention or the growth and acquiring more users isn't happening quite the way that they wanted it to. So now they're maybe going to go into, Sora obviously with the video creation, but then taking it into like offering pornography and doing things that they kind of initially said they weren't going to do because, oh, and doing ads. They're going to be bringing in ads now as like a money grab. So I wonder if they kind of just overshot their expectations and now they're having to like reel it in. I wonder if that has to do with kind of a societal pushback on how scary AI can be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I completely agree with you there. Yeah, I've kind of predicted that ads would come into the game at some point, to be completely honest. I'm like, all right, this won't last forever here. Like there's too much money to be made in advertising and they've just partnered with Walmart so you can shop through ChatGPT. So it's really just turning into a big thing. I've also heard rumors about them creating their own social networking app or social network. And I'm like, please no, we don't need any more. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think at first it like 2022, 2023, even part of 2024, I think it was like shiny object, like, oh my God, like just like this is unbelievable. This is so amazing, super hyped for a lot of it for good reason. And people kind of just dove in head first. But now with the rise of like, okay, well, everyone's kind of using it. People are actually starting to get around to it and we're actually seeing the bad sides of it. And I don't know if you've heard of the term AI work slop. That's a
Yes.
buzzword.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe for people that don't know what that is, I
sure.
guess let's define it real quick.
Absolutely. Yeah. So AI work slop is essentially when you do a task with AI and it's not really done very well and you basically just copy and paste it straight from whatever LLM, so Copilot, ChatGPT, whatever you're using, and you don't really make any edits or anything, and that's your final work. And then you submit that work. So say it's like a proposal outline and it's not great, and the person you like, maybe your manager you submit it to, can clearly tell it's AI written, that you haven't actually made any changes, and then it actually requires your manager to do more work than they would have had to in the first place, if that makes sense, because they need to go in and revise it or tell you to redo it. And so it's creating this speed that's not always effective, if that makes sense. So I think there's more pushback now. I think there's more ethical concerns. And, maybe it even has to do with, I don't live in the US, so I don't know, but maybe a little bit with the political landscape. I know Sam Altman, the CEO, is up in the works and they're big tech and they're all doing this and doing that. So I think a lot of trust has been lost, but I think it's a bunch of things all at once for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And people I think are just getting so excited at the amount that it can do that they're kind of I'm sure it was similar. I think we were both like too young, but at the start of just the internet becoming
Yes.
commonplace in people's homes,
Yeah.
kind of just abusing it. And that's what we're seeing happen is people don't really understand, they like trust it too much. I
Hmm.
am fortunate enough that I got like a little bit of insight. I was, like, between jobs and looking for gigs and started doing one of those LLM trainings.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it taught me about hallucinations and inaccuracies and all these
Hmm.
things that now I try to keep a really open mind about when I am using it for tax, especially pertinent tax that are going out beyond my laptop to other people. And I
Yes.
don't think the common person who's doing something like that and creating slop understands that this is just a work in progress machine. It doesn't know everything. I mean, I have a friend who was like, "This is tapped into the Akashic records," and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." So people are just like, and you hear about teenagers being in relationships, like romantic relationships with it, and how we need additional guardrails with that. And I think to start kind of breaking down what this is for people who don't know as much, can we talk about what is the difference between like AI and LLMs, which is what people are actually using every day?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So generative, well, AI has been around for a very long time. It's obviously it stands for artificial intelligence. I wouldn't say a very long time, but at least over 10 years, right? So you've had social media algorithms since day one. You've had Netflix suggesting other shows that you might like. All of that is actually AI in the background. But ChatGPT and LLMs, which stand for large language models, which is what ChatGPT is. It's what Gemini is. It's what Grok AI by X. All of these are different models, and that's actually called like generative AI. And so that's something that actually generates new content. The AI is using the data that it's trained on. So it's trained on a bunch of different data points, a bunch of different pieces of writing and sorry, I don't know if you can hear that.
Oh,
Different
that's
pieces
okay.
of writing and yeah, just text. And it is basically a probability machine. But it allows you to basically generate anything you want at your fingertips rather than it just being something that like developers can access, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And for anyone that doesn't know what the term hallucination means in
Oh,
this
yes.
context, can you please explain that?
For sure, absolutely, yeah, and it's a really important one to know. Hallucination means that the AI just starts to make stuff up. Like, um, I don't know if anyone has ever been in a ChatGPT thread where you've kind of been in the same chat for a long time, and you kind of want to stay in that chat because it kind of knows everything that you've already told it, and you're like, oh, I don't want it to lose its memory. And but the thing is, these LLMs, they have context windows, so it only remembers, and they're measured in something called tokens. We won't get into it's you can just think of it as like gigabytes or something. Like it's just like its memory that it can hold. And so as the chat gets longer and longer, um, the context window goes down and down, and it won't remember all the stuff you said at the beginning of the chat. So then it can start to make stuff up, but it's not always because of the context window. Sometimes you'll ask it to do something and it just wants to, it's almost like it wants to please you all the time. So even if it doesn't know the answer, it'll make something up. And that's why I think when people are saying AI is going to replace us and you're obsolete, blah, 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 I don't think we're at that point yet because there is so much human oversight that is required. If I'm going in and doing an AI project on something that I have no idea about, like say in an industry like I don't know, like what do I have no idea, acting or I don't know, finance. I don't have the oversight to tell if it's hallucinating or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But yeah, so it's that's why I think it's, and I think a lot of I know Scale AI, another big AI company, um, has kind of been focusing more on less on like AI generalists hiring them and contractors, but more on subject matter experts that could actually, like you said, like test the large language models, inform it with their actual proper knowledge rather than any AI generalist being like, okay, this is good, this isn't so good. So there is still that part that's really important on the human side.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that we're talking about that because it's such a, like a refreshing angle to take because people panic and they're worried about, what can it do, what can't it do? And I know there's so much concern. I see memes about it all day long, like the water usage. What's your POV on the water usage?
Oh my gosh. Um, I think there's a lot of misinformation around it. You know what? Like, I wish I could give you an answer. I've tried looking into it. I don't feel like I'm fully informed on it. I do think that there is definitely a negative environmental impact of AI. I've heard every prompt is you pouring out a bottle of water, which is, I can for sure say that's BS. That's not true. And but I think it's more like, I think I read somewhere that it's like tens of thousands of prompts is equal to like one mile driven in a gas car or something like that. But these data centers are huge and they're not great for the environment. So that is something that we need to consider longitudinally. And yeah, I still do some AI training and workshops, but I used to do them a lot more, and that would always be a question I was asked, and I had a really good answer to it, and now I can't remember it off by heart. But usually I would say, okay, well, you only have an hour today. Let's chat about that after. I'm not an environmentalist. I don't have all the answers right now, but I would love to talk to you after the session because people get really heated about that. So I think just being mindful of, hey, maybe you don't need to make a video of squirrels jumping on a trampoline today and use a bunch of power to do that. But I'm interested to see more of the data as it comes out, and then how kind of that will shape usage in the future.
Yeah, I am as well. Let's talk about what are some of the standout abilities today of some of the AIs that you're helping businesses implement?
Sure. Yeah. I was actually at one of my clients is a doctor's office with walk in physicians. And I live in Canada. So we have, well, free healthcare, quote unquote, through taxes. But that means that our doctors are like severely overworked, especially family physicians. And I mean, probably that's probably the case everywhere, honestly.
It
But
is.
yeah. So we the government gave out these grants to doctors for AI scribes. So they're essentially like AI note takers, like you would have in your meetings. But basically, a patient comes into the room, you get their consent, you just turn on the note taker. It captures all your conversation, and then it can format that into a structured SOAP note, which is the note taking style that doctors use. Um, and so what I did was I was reached out to them. I just knew them through my network and they said, "Can you help us implement this?" Because a lot of these doctors are a little bit older. They don't really know how to use tech very well. And oh my God, like the difference that just that one little thing has made for them, like they first of all, they're like addicted to it now because every time it shuts down or there's a bug, they freak out and call me. But I was like, there's no way these, like, one of them was like in his probably near retirement, like near 70. And I was like, there's no way this guy's going to use this stuff. Like, I went out of it. I spent 2 hours with him trying to teach him how to use it. And I'm like, and then I come in the next week and he's like, I'm a superhero. I'm like, what? He's like, yep. I saw 60 patients yesterday. I usually see 20 because he does a lot of phone walk-in appointments, like via, I guess, Zoom or whatever. And I was like, well, was the quality of care good? Like, that sounds like a lot of appointments. He's like, no, it's honestly, it was even better because I'm not so worried about what I have to type out after. Like, I can actually be more present and more conversational with my patients than if I had to like take notes and remember what they said after. Um, and so they're saving like 2 hours a day. A lot of like one of them used to bring her laptop home every night and chart while she was watching TV with her husband. She doesn't even bring it home anymore. And I'm like
Wow.
that. And the note taking ability is just, it's insane. Like a lot of them have accents. It has no problem with that. A lot, like if even if there's like riffraff and you're making small talk, it eliminates that. There's a bunch of different AI scribe softwares, but they are also trained on peer reviewed medical journals. So they actually have the knowledge that they can kind of assume. So that is one really big place that I've seen it make a difference. That's a really cool application that I think will make a huge difference, not only for doctors, but for citizens, because that will improve healthcare, which is a really, really underserved industry. Um, but yeah, it was funny because I was with one of the doctors yesterday, and so we practiced taking a AI note, doing his charting, and then he's like, "Oh, what's this little?" He's never used ChatGPT, so he's like, "Oh, what's this little bar at the bottom?" Because you can chat with your note after, right? And so I'm like, "Oh, you can ask it anything." I'm like, "Ask it to create a sick note." So it makes a sick note and signs with his name. And he's like, I'm obsolete. I'm done. I'm like, no, you're not. A fifth grader can write a sick note based on the notes. Like, you're not obsolete. All this did was capture what you said. It can't make the diagnosis for you. It can't build rapport with the patient. Like, it's just, it's just that's I think it's a really really cool application of it being used in the right way, to make an actual difference. I guess if that makes sense. That's one of my favorite use cases that I've seen it do. It's got some really cool applications in the medical field. Obviously, we don't want it to make decisions, but if it can help doctors with the really, really rudimentary things that essentially, like if you had like a 16-year-old kid in the room taking notes, obviously you're not going to have that, but that can really help doctors and help patients. So I thought that was really cool.
It is, I'm really impressed by that because it is such a huge time suck. I live with someone in the medical space, and I know she'll have to, like, dedicate a whole day just to charting, so I'm gonna have to tell her that that's an option for her, and I've used that sometimes too during my own pre-interviews when I'm trying to take notes with people I'm gonna have on the show. I'll have, like, a little thing taking notes for me, and it's really good at, like, bullet points and all
Yeah.
that, and you're right to make that distinction of it's not gonna be able to replace the human element of it, the building the rapport, and there's not gonna be hopefully a point where patients are coming in and just talking to a robot. Like, that's very sci-fi freaky to think about, but in this context, just to get some administrative stuff off of
Hmm.
people's desks, particularly in an industry that is already bursting at the seams, and not just
Oh,
in Canada, but here too. I mean, I
yeah.
can attest to that, that it's just really, really hard to get in. Even,
Yes.
you'll need to see a specialist for something that feels urgent, and they're like, okay, we have something 3 months from now. And you're like, what?
It's like, no, I need a new hip. Thanks. Like, I don't need,
Yeah,
but like, yeah, I know. So that's really awesome. And so I hope more, though that industry, and I used to be a teacher in education, it's really hard because of like private identifiable information, all the privacy policies. But we're finally at the point where companies are able to like get those certifications and become super secure. So I really, really hope that there's more adoption in those industries in the future, because I know, yeah, education and healthcare are tough.
absolutely. On the flip side of that, what are some of the pitfalls of the technology today that you're hoping that they can work through?
Yeah, definitely. Um, One thing that well, obviously hallucinations are a big one. Like they have gotten better, but even even yesterday there was just if you're ever using it for running numbers, especially ChatGPT for updating spreadsheets or creating a table or analyzing data, be so careful. Go look at it because it'll be like, hey, I updated it. It's like V5. It's the exact same as V1 if you go and look in the spreadsheet. So be very careful with numbers. And again, that's where human oversight matters so much. Um, it's overhyped, and I've been guilty of it too. Like way back in like 2023 when I started my content journey, like I obviously wanted views, so I would like overhype it a little bit, but people overhype the heck out of it. And so a lot of people they almost are disappointed when they go in because they're like, oh, it didn't do it perfectly. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course it didn't. It's not there yet and you've never used it before. But I always say it's good to like embrace an 80-20 mindset. So even if you're really, really good at using it, you still need to add 20% of your own secret sauce and make those changes. And a task that might have taken you an hour before might take 15 minutes now, but it probably won't take zero, if that makes sense.
Of course. And what are the
Yeah.
areas where people are really underutilizing it, where you can come in and the fix, you can tell, like, right away what they can implement to just make life a little easier?
Totally, totally. And I don't even know if this is a pitfall, but there are just new tools popping out of the woodworks every day, right? And there's that FOMO aspect in all the marketing and the you need to use this or you'll be replaced or blah blah blah. And there's one of the biggest things I hear with my clients is like, okay, there are so many options. I'm being bombarded by marketing emails every day, ads, this, that. I don't even know what the right tool is for the job. And that's like one of the biggest things that I hear with people. And I'm just because I live in AI and I'm consuming it every day, even for me, it's hard to keep up. So I don't know if that's a pitfall of the actual models, but it can cause some overwhelm. And that's why I think it's a great opportunity for people who are interested in AI or who have a lot of knowledge about it to even just do some advising on the side and stuff like that, because it's a lot.
So let's talk about professional skills that are going to be more needed? And I think you kind of just touched on this, but what kinds of human only skills should people be working to cultivate that can be complementary to this new AI driven world?
Totally. That's a great question. There are so many studies that have come out, and I can't cite there's the Future of Jobs report from World Economic Forum and Work Trend Index, and there was another one recently came out. I can't remember what it's called, but they're all kind of around the same sentiment. One that really sticks out to me is flexibility and resilience and adaptability. They kind of like all come in the same like realm, if you know what I mean. Um, like I said, I used to be a teacher. And what I've noticed in, I guess they're called Gen Alpha, the generation that is in school right now, is that, they've been, and it's not their fault, they've grown up with social media, they've grown up with fridges they can, not everyone obviously, but like fridges they can talk to and like stuff just being at their fingertips at all times that I noticed just even before and after COVID, like the difference in resilience and kids being able to like critically think or problem solve or be creative with coming up with a solution or even being okay with ambiguity has just like almost disappeared. So I think, and not only kids, but I think also, you know, I I don't know, but I've heard this from employers about Gen Zs and whatever. Like it's important, especially in an AI world going forward, because there will be so much change that people are okay with this having this sense of ambiguity, but being flexible and being resilient and being a problem solver, like kind of on the fly, I think that's really, really important. And that's kind of a common trend I've seen through all of these studies is that resilience, that flexibility, because you need to be agile, you need to be able to keep up with change, pivot quickly, you know what I mean? And like, be a problem solver. And then the other one, was it, you know, it's it's the human skills. It's like interpersonal communication and interpersonal relationships and kind of building those. Um, because at the end of the day, now that AI can basically do entry level software engineer work and it can do a lot of other tasks. Um, that's great. But I mean, if you want to work in tech, they probably don't need as much technical, but can you actually communicate the value of AI? Can you actually sell it? Can you actually market it? Can you actually like have the people aspect? So I think, 20 years ago when Jensen Huang, he's the CEO of NVIDIA, which makes all the AI chips, they're huge. He said the most important skill kids need is coding. And now he's like coming back with his tail between his legs. He's like, I was wrong. It's oh, what did he say? I think he said something. I have don't quote me on this, but it was either like subject matter expertise, which I kind of mentioned before, or being flexible and adaptable. So really, just like human skills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost forcing out the most human aspects of
Yes.
employees if you're taking out the stuff that kind of where we were, particularly in maybe blue collar work or clerical entry level work, those are
Yes.
the things that it's obvious can just be robotic because they're robotic when a human was doing them.
Yes.
And now you
Exactly.
need that oversight, you need that critical thinking, and you need
Hmm.
that ability to come in and have that expertise in a certain area so you can like double check its work while it still needs to be double checked, and also make sure, cuz I don't know, I can't imagine just like a company, let's say like a PetSmart or a Walmart or whatever, some big conglomerate that sends out marketing emails every day. You can't just, churn these marketing emails out with AI and not have a single person. While the machine can certainly do it, you still have to have a person in place looking and being like, does this make sense or does this not make sense? Can we send this to people? Like, is it offensive? Is it educational? Does it have all the things we need? Like, there's still got to be a human being there double checking its work.
1,000%. And even if you have the best prompt engineer, you have the best project going, links don't work, prices might be off. Like, like there's always going to be that aspect. And I think even more so, I'll give a final like example kind of on the sentiment. Again, I'm so bad with remembering numbers, but I think LinkedIn saw I don't want to say 400% increase, but a massive astronomical increase in the amount of applications to job postings. because, right, you can take a job posting, put it into ChatGPT, give it your resume, and say, Kate, make my resume more tailored to this job. People are doing that. I know some universities are actually teaching kids how to do that, which I don't think is the best idea, but whatever. But obviously, recruiters are then overloaded. So then they're using AI to filter the resumes. And it's just like robot versus robot. And then some places have an AI avatar that screens you for your first interview. So you don't talk to a human till like you're on the third phase of the interview. So what I always say, and like for kids graduating right now, it's a really like defeating time, especially if you're putting in all these applications, maybe 500 and hearing back from two or something like that, right? Like there's just so much more competition. I always think it's a great idea to like show your human side. So, for example, it's as simple as like messaging the recruiter on LinkedIn, or what I've done in the past that I always haven't got. I did this for two jobs I applied for, just gig work. I got one, I didn't get the other one, but both of them came with responses, which is a big deal, obviously. And then one of them, who I didn't get, ended up contacting me later, referring me to another gig. So both of them ended up in something positive. But basically, all I did was one of them, I just created a Loom screen recording, just explaining my work and why I thought this would be a good job, showed my face, showed my personality. It was like 2 minutes, sent it to the hiring manager, and I got a response. And I didn't get that one, but they referred me later. And then the other one, I made like a digital portfolio of just my experiences about me, some links to projects, sent that over, and I got an interview right away. So it's almost harder to stand out, but then it's almost easier to stand out, if that makes sense. If you can just put in that little extra human element, it'll really make a difference.
This might be similar to that, but how can like creators and businesses that are leveraging AI do it without feeling like they're cheating or they're losing their voice?
Definitely, definitely. That's a really good question. And I think that's obviously going to be, I think it's more so now that business owners and C suites are like, okay, like we actually need to do something about this. I think it comes back again to the human values. I think as an organization or as a small business, you need to, I don't like the word policy, more like guidelines, but develop an AI policy, not just with the leadership, but like involve your whole team in like just gathering sentiment about AI. What are you using it for? What are you concerned about? What do you like about it? Then going back to your company's mission, vision, values. Okay, how can we generate an AI policy that kind of aligns with like our staff sentiment, but also aligns with our broader vision? Um, what are some initiatives that we want to try? I always say start super small, like just one thing, like maybe use it to generate proposal summaries, not the whole proposal, but maybe you guys have built a custom GPT to do one small task and then it'll just build on itself. But I think just it's already an area with pretty limited trust. So I think just even opening up the conversation, if you're a business leader or someone's manager or in any leadership role, just involving people in it and asking them, and then kind of co-developing this AI guideline document can really go a long way. And of course, consulting with HR and all the specific stuffs about like what's allowed, what's not. But I think that would be a really, really good start, just literally opening up the conversation.
Absolutely. That's definitely something leadership should be doing. And then on the flip side of that, if you're an employee and you're implementing these things, or you're even an independent contractor and you're kind of creating content and you're doing that, how do you stay feeling authentic even though you're implementing these tools? Like, how much should people be adding of their own voice to make sure that they're not creating what we're now calling slop?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I like to say use it as a companion, not a crutch, if that makes sense. Or collaborator. I like the collaborator one a little bit better. So I've got a big monitor here. A lot of the times I'll just split screen what I'm working on. And I guess a good way to put it is to think of it almost like a tutor or a teacher. They're never going to give you the answer, so don't do 100% copy and pasting, but like banter back and forth with it. Like, how does this sound? Oh, I kind of like this more. And then like if you want to use it in that way you don't lose your authentic voice. You're still making all decisions. You're still the orchestrator. But it's almost having like this little sidekick that can really, really help you or expand on your ideas or like consider viewpoints you wouldn't have considered otherwise. So I think just kind of finding out your flow and the nuanced way to work it. And of course, prompting is important, but we can talk about that. But yeah, I think using it more as a collaborator rather than a crutch is like a big unlock for people for sure.
I love that, and I definitely do wanna talk about the significance of prompting. How can people avoid giving it leading prompts? Because I think sometimes similar to just doing a Google search, and obviously Google
Yeah.
is implementing AI too, but how do we prompt it for questions? Something along the lines of like, "Oh, is raw milk good for you or is raw milk bad for you?" What are the ways that people can actually generate questions that are not gonna give them bias answers?
Perfect. Yeah, that's a really good question because there's so much bias in AI and you have to be really careful about that. Like I know a lot of people use it as a therapist and
Ugh,
just
yeah.
basically like the way that you're asking the question, ChatGPT is like the world's biggest people pleaser. So it might not actually always give you the correct answer. It might tell you what you want to hear, but not the correct like you said, is milk good for you? Like if it knows you're lactose intolerant from your previous conversations, it's probably going to say no. But I don't know. But that's a really good question. There's a lot of little things that you can add to your prompt at the very end. Um, so you could even say, act as someone completely unbiased, critical, doesn't know me, and provide a nuanced answer. It's as simple as that. Or there is a feature on ChatGPT called Prompt Enhancer. So you can type in your basic prompt, like, for example, I need to know if raw milk is good for me. Don't be biased. And then the prompt enhancer will kind of expand that and explain to you why it added these different elements of the prompt. And then you can go in and change that and be like, oh, actually, no, like, you know, lactose isn't that important in this case, or like whatever. So I will have to, I can't remember the exact button on ChatGPT that does that. But that is a really good way to enhance your prompt. And it kind of eliminates the need to know how to prompt super well manually. Like you still need to know what you should include in a prompt and kind of understand how that works. But that's a super good question. So it never hurts to just add, like, do not try to please me, act as a neutral body. Don't hallucinate. I always say don't hallucinate. It usually works. If you don't know the answer, don't make it up. Just tell me. Like I always say that too. And I know it's a lot of stuff to add to your prompt, but something that I don't think a lot of people utilize, especially when they're on the computer, which I totally get if you're in a workspace, but at home, I always just use the microphone button. I just talk to it, if that makes sense, because I can talk way faster than I can type. So if it gives me a response and I want to critique the response, I'll like turn on the microphone and then read it out and critique it in real time, and then I'll make those changes. So um, that's another way that you can really just um, up level your prompts just by speaking them, because I can speak better than I can type. I don't know if that's the same for you, but
What a huge, great takeaway, thank you, that's, like, so important, what a nugget.
yeah, exactly. It's awesome. You don't have to go into like the actual voice mode if you know what I'm talking about, with that
Mhm,
circle on your phone, but there's just a little microphone button and it's just dictation. Like that's all it is.
amazing. Is
Yeah.
there a huge difference between the free ChatGPT and the paid one?
Yes. Yes. There is. The free one has gotten excellent, and it's great for just like you know, if you're not really someone who uses ChatGPT, very often, like for example, like write me a paragraph that I can teach my child about the solar system or something like that. Like it's great for that. If you want to use it for work or for stuff that's a little bit more complex, really, $20 a month, it might not be feasible for everyone, but if you can afford it, it's a great investment because it's like having that sidekick there, and you can do all sorts of complex stuff like create ChatGPT projects and custom GPTs, which we can go into after if you want. But the free version is only limited to like I think their most basic models, and the models are smarter once you start paying for it. So they can remember your previous chats. They know all about you if you turn on the memory feature. Just a lot more nuanced answers, and the quality of answers are much better. But I think the most important thing is a lot of people, and they don't know this, they don't do this because they want to, or they want to break the rules. But in any employer contract, there's always conflict of interest or confidentiality clause, right? And usually sign saying that, I as an employee here, I'm not going to give away any proprietary IP or information about the company. And I know the number one use case for ChatGPT is writing emails. And so a lot of people who don't really use AI, but they very often, but they've started using it for emails and they think it's just amazing because it is amazing for emails, right? Like you're like, okay, this is how I feel. It sounds super rude, but make it sound nice. You know what I mean? I use it all the time, but I have the paid version, right? So they'll copy and paste emails into the free version of ChatGPT. And that can be dicey because the free version doesn't really have any security. And everything that you're typing into the free version, it's using to train its models. So it's using that data that's now in its database. So if you write an email about your company's proprietary consulting process and that gets pasted into the free version of ChatGPT, your competition can go and ask the free version or ask the paid version of ChatGPT, what is XYZ's company, their process for this? And now Chat knows that. So the security isn't there on the free version. It's more secure on the paid version. But if you're an employee and most of them are on Google Suite or Microsoft, ask your management, like, hey, are we allowed to use Gemini? Is this enterprise grade security? What like is our Copilot safe to use and use for our emails or use for blah blah blah? I would say those ones are a lot more secure than ChatGPT if you don't have an enterprise plan. But just for someone like me or you who's a freelancer, definitely be careful with that. And I would definitely invest in some sort of paid subscription.
I had no idea. I'm digesting that. That's such a
Isn't
valuable
that
piece of information.
but yeah, like no one knows that. So, and the reason why I found that out actually is in 2020, yeah, July, no, May 2023, I was a teacher and one of my colleagues discovered ChatGPT. It had just come out. Obviously, I don't even know if my school district even has a policy still, but no one was talking about it except for me, of course. So she was communicating with a family that was newcomers and they're from Romania and didn't speak a lick of English. And they were sending her emails in very broken English. And there she was trying her best to have a conversation with them, but verbally they couldn't really talk either. So she's like, okay, you know what? Why don't I just communicate to ChatGPT and then it can translate it into Romanian for me? And it was working great. Anyways, something ended up coming up with the kid, like a problem that needed to be taken to administration. And because they used the kids' names in the emails, and just information about her behavior or whatever. Schools are very, very private. Like kids' information is super, super secure. She got in huge trouble. But I'm like, she didn't know any better because, like a first grade teacher, like you're very knowledgeable about AI, but people don't know these things. So that's why I just think it's really, really important to just open the conversation at some point. Even if you don't want to use AI, just be like, hey guys, don't leak any information to ChatGPT, you know?
Oh, that's so critical, especially like circling back to people using it in medical fields and at places where there's HIPAA and there's confidential information. That's, yeah, oh my gosh. Um, I guess this is similar to that, but on the flip side, if someone is using it to make, and maybe it's different for paid and free, maybe you can tell me. If you're using it to do your CVs, do your resumes, do copywriting or something, and you just take what it gives you and you copy and you paste, is there some kind of watermark or something in the background where someone on the receiving end of AI generated content can tell it's AI generated?
That's a great question. There's not like so there's one thing that if you copy and paste into like a Google document or a Word document and the receiver can see that and it's not a PDF, um, the first sentence of every paragraph has a larger, like a taller space than the other ones. I don't really know how accurate that is and how often that occurs, but some people refer to that as a watermark. But I don't think there's any like telltale quote unquote watermark like you would see on a stock image or anything, but there are signs. There are signs that are very telltale. And everyone talks about them. So first of all, the M dash, I was a math teacher. I'm not a writer. So that's why I love AI so much because writing is just not my thing. So it helps me a lot. So I've never used M dashes in writing because again, I have a very basic writing level, I guess. But my mom's a journalist and she has always used them and used them properly. And so now that ChatGPT kind of overuses them, it's become a telltale sign of like, oh, they used AI. Like they have five M dashes here and there. And then the people who've actually used M dashes for the last 30 years are being like, it's not AI, it's actually me. So if someone's using M dashes all the time and they never used to, be wary of that. Um, and you can ask ChatGPT and put it in the instructions, do not use M dashes, but it doesn't always understand that because at the end of the day, it's a probability machine, and all the data that's trained on is like a lot of it's professional writing that uses a lot of M dashes. So it can't really decipher because to it an M dash is just another number, and so hopefully they'll fix that in the future. But that's one thing. Using silly words like delve, revolutionize, all these stupid ChatGPT, Telltale. We've all heard them, you know what I mean? Like stuff that's cringy and you would never really use. That's another quote unquote watermark. Um, and then, you know, there's other little I made a video on this once. I had five like telltale signs that it's AI slop. What's the other one? Oh, some on the free version it tends to use a lot of emojis. Um, I never use emojis unless I'm texting, so but don't use emojis in professional stuff, I would say unless it's like a Slack DM. I don't know, but oh, and then it always uses a sentence structure. I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's like it's not X, it's Y. It's like it's not that you're bad at this. It's just that you don't understand it. Blah blah blah. It's like it always uses that weird like culminating sentence that I find just because I read a lot of AI and I'm just like, stop, you're just doing too much. But yeah, hopefully that kind of answers your question. And I think a lot of people are getting more sensitive and used to it. Just seeing those kind of signs that kind of stick out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's probably, and I'm generalizing here, but like millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha, it's much easier for us to become literate with this stuff
Yeah.
faster. And even though sometimes I can't pinpoint it, it's almost like this instinct I get, this uncanny
Yes.
valley sensation that happens when I see a video or a picture that is AI.
Yeah.
However, and I'm going to drag my mom for a second, she's been sending me these videos on Instagram that are AI that she doesn't know are AI. It'll be like a Pomeranian ice skating. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so obvious that this is Sora or whatever it is.
Yeah.
What are some kind of common red flags that you would say people can look for to identify if an image or a video is AI generated?
That's a great question. Yeah, and you bring up such a good point. Like it is so obvious to us. Like to me and you, like if I see an AI of someone's headshot and it's AI generated, I don't care how good the model is or you're fine to like I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell. But again, my mom would be able to tell, my dad wouldn't be able to tell, you know what I mean? And especially with these videos, like there's one video, and people are getting pretty savvy with it. But they're creating these videos that are going to go viral. I don't know if you've seen, I think got like 100 million views on TikTok, but
Was it the
it's,
trampoline rabbits or whatever? Yep. I fell for that one too. It was the first AI video I fell for, and I was like, what is wrong with me?
I know, but it's like, I think it just goes back to, the whole essence of clickbait. And that kind of obviously like that resonates with the older generation. Not everything you read online is true. Use your discretion, use your critical thinking. Like, would there really be six bunnies jumping on a trampoline? And then the other thing I noticed with that is like, why are six bunnies taking up 90% of the trampoline? They're not that big. So like, Secondly, if you ever see something like that, usually the top rated comment is going to be like, this is AI or something like that. So read the comments, ask yourself a question, would this actually happen? But then if it looks off, it probably is. I always like to say that. And, you know, um, I don't know if you've seen these softwares coming out with like AI avatars, AI UGC creators. Oh, this is like humans are obsolete. You can just create an avatar to speak for you. I'm like, I can clearly tell that's not a real person. And you can put your money down that I'm not going to watch that. I don't want to watch a robot. But again, the older generation might. think it's legit. So if any aspect of it looks kind of off, it probably is. And if the mouth isn't syncing perfectly and the hands look weird, it's not real.
Yeah, I hope that people like the literacy rate of the general population goes up as the quality increases, because this is kind of a problem that we're like moving forward as the problem gets worse and worse and the videos get better, and you start seeing videos now of like there is all five fingers on the hand. A year ago I would play around and I would be like, make me a doctor within this headshot, and it would spit me out with like three arms and four boobs and 18 fingers. And I'm like, this isn't great.
No, no, exactly, exactly. But even people freaking out about Sora right now, I'm like, I can tell all of these are fake. But to someone older, like the bank robbery like example I gave, would look pretty legitimate.
Yeah. And that's scary because that kind of, like, that begs the question, what should we expect or hope for as far as regulation? Like, what kind of regulation would you like to see now that things are moving at such a high speed?
Definitely, I think there should be some sort of mandatory visual watermark. But that's tough because then 3,000 watermark remover sites come out. You know what I mean? Um, so if there's another, I haven't even thought about that, but I think there should be some sort of disclaimer always, just like most of the time now on social media, we'll see like hashtag ad or partner, or like at least disclosing somewhat that they're being paid for this. But I truly think that there needs to be some sort of disclaimer that it's AI generated. And I think as time goes on and the brands that are using these or people using these, they're going to people are going to be really turned off by it. It's already happening. Like we want to see, that's why TikTok is so big. Like we want to see authentic, real, like unscripted, vulnerable, like messy content. We don't want to see this perfect catered stuff. I mean, I don't want like it's almost like the value of like being a real person, like we kind of talked about before, has gone up dramatically. Because it's just so easy for anyone to spin up an AI generated video. But I do like what YouTube has done with their AI generated stuff. So um, a lot of social media platforms have monetization options. So for a TikTok Creator Fund, are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. So listeners who might not know what that is basically, um, I don't have it because Canada doesn't have it, which sucks, but the US has it. And basically, if you post a video that's a minute or longer and people watch at least 5% of it and it meets a certain amount of views, I think it's maybe 100,000, 10,000, I don't remember. But then you get paid per view beyond that. It's like a portion of a cent per view beyond that. And you can make some decent money doing that, right? Um, so YouTube Shorts has a similar aspect. It's essentially like the same thing. I don't really know how the monetization works, but they've actually, so people discovered that and they're like, oh my gosh, I can make these viral ASMR or kind of clickbaity videos and post them on YouTube at scale. I can post like 100 videos a day and just make money that way. And a lot of people were doing that and they're making a lot of money. But then YouTube is like, we don't want this. We don't want this slop all over our site. So they actually they make you disclose if it's AI generated or not, and then it goes through some sort of filter, it has some sort of model that can evaluate it, and you can post it, but it's not eligible for monetization. So I think that's a really good thing that they're doing right now. Um, TikTok, I hope will jump on that bandwagon. Maybe they have already. I don't know, but like for example, like that bunnies on the trampoline. I don't know if it's a minute long, but most people watch more than 5 seconds of it. I wouldn't doubt if that person had creator fund, they made like 50 grand off that. I wouldn't doubt that. So, yeah, I think putting those guardrails in place and I think TikTok actually has the AI generated, like you have to disclose that it's AI generated, but people get around that somehow. So, yeah, that's a great question.
I do love that, at least with YouTube, every time I go to upload an episode, there's a question there of, is it AI generated? And I've never made anything AI generated, so I have no idea what's beyond if you hit yes, because I've never had to. But I know that YouTube is just so incredibly sharp at recognizing, I've had a song playing in the background of like a YouTube live, and you can't even hear it in the video, but YouTube came back and was like, hey, this is a copyright issue. You can't use this. And I'm like, oh, okay, geez. All right. I got to be careful. So I know I can like trust whatever tech they have running in the background that identifies it. So I
Hmm.
hope, and I think of all the social media apps, I probably trust IG the least as far
Same.
as catching this stuff, because I've already seen they'll run AI ads. So if they don't care about ads being AI, then they probably also, it just kind of speaks to their willingness to do a money grab and just let
Right.
advertisers do AI and then flood all of our feeds with that. So them
Yeah.
I trust the least, but
Same.
it's
And they have their own
yeah.
AI. They have
Yeah.
Llama. Like and it's like, send an AI generator. And I'm like, no, I want to DM my friend. I don't want to, like,
Yeah.
what? I know. Yeah. I think I think that's a global sentiment.
For sure. I would love to hear about what is your tech stack and what kinds of AIs are you using to get through the day or to recommend to other clients. That way, I hear it from someone who knows what they're talking about, which ones I should be looking into besides the couple that I already know.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great question. Um, so to start off, I think anyone who's like interested in using AI or wants to start using it, or maybe is using ChatGPT here and there, if you work at a corporation and you guys are already using Microsoft or Google Suite, just use Gemini or just use Copilot. Use what's already there because Copilot runs on the same model that ChatGPT does, anyways. And just check with your superior if it's okay to use it and what the guardrails are, etc. But just pick one large language model. So for me, I use a lot of different things, but usually I'll use ChatGPT, of course, but I will also use Claude. I find Claude it's by Anthropic. It's another large language model, but I find it's very cool for like mocking up prototypes or dashboards. And I know that kind of sounds kind of technical, but um, that for sure. And it's really cool. You can just try it out, like build me an app for my habit tracking or what, and just see what it does. It's really cool. But I also find Claude is a little bit better for the natural sound writing. If I want something that's like more copywriting style, I'll use Claude a little bit for that. But again, that's so unnecessary. Like just use one large language model because then if you turn on the memory, it'll get to know you. And start small. Like don't try and use it for everything, but just use it for one little thing, get good at it, and you'll just learn as you go. It can be really overwhelming. So yeah, choose one large language model, use it, experiment with it. I always tell people like to try the same prompt in two different models and see how the outputs compare. So yeah, ChatGPT for like most like basic tasks, like writing tasks and like checking stuff, and you know what I mean. It's kind of my default. Another really big slept on app, maybe it's not slept on, I don't know, is Perplexity AI. That is my like all-time favorite AI software. I like to call it Google on steroids, or like Google before it got shitty. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
Yes.
um, because essentially it's a lot of people use ChatGPT like Google. I would advise against so because first of all, like it runs on Bing, the search engine. I don't really like Bing that
Oh,
much.
I
I don't
didn't
think
know that.
I know. Maybe it's changed now, but Perplexity essentially you can ask it something and then it'll go scan the internet and open 30 tabs in its little brain, like for example, like what is the best podcasting software, it'll go look for 30 different tabs including Reddit, which is really cool. It can look through Reddit threads and then come back with a summarized answer of all those different sources, so it's pretty nuanced, and give you a summary. And I know Google has AI summaries now, but Perplexities are just better. And then with every claim that it makes, you can click on the source where it got it from. So I really like Perplexity for research tasks. And then you can also filter for peer reviewed articles only. You can filter Reddit threads only, which is really cool for like, I like using that for like product research because then it's unbiased. It's just people on Reddit just talking. Um, and you can also do a lot of, and it also has Perplexity News, which I really like, because it just gives you bite-sized news, and you can click, and it of course like it'll use different sources. So I'm not just reading CNN's version of this story. I'm reading Bloomberg and I'm reading Wall Street Journal and all of these things in one. So Perplexity is amazing for research. Highly recommend that. And it's great on the free plan too. So, like I said, my mom's a journalist and she's pretty against AI, but she's coming to terms with it a little bit more. Like she uses it for home repairs and takes pictures and stuff like that. But her favorite tool for like general research and just what she defaults to is Perplexity, and she loves it. So, Yeah, she's super critical. So she likes it. I would say definitely give it a shot. So I use that for research. And there's also something called Labs on the pro version where it can create comprehensive reports. That's more advanced, but if you're interested in that, that would be cool to look at. My third thing that I use every single day is called Granola. It's an AI note taker. And I know there's a lot of AI note takers out there, but Granola is an app, and this is not sponsored at all, but I've tried a lot of different AI note takers. I've tried like Fireflies, Otter AI, the ones that, join your meetings. Have you seen that before?
I forget which one I had tried. I tried one, just like a free version. It might have been Otter because that sounds familiar to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So sometimes you'll like be in a Zoom meeting and then there'll be like 30 different AI note takers in the meeting and like five. Have you seen that before? Like the
No.
note takers join. Oh my God. The note takers will join, but then the people won't.
Great. That's what you want.
It's horrible. Yeah. So I'm in a lot of like AI communities. So everyone, of course, has a note taker and they will, and even after I've canceled my subscription, they will still join. And there's a huge privacy problem because then somehow, there's some, I think they're fixing it now, but there's some privacy or security glitch that if I have Otter AI, then everyone else in my meeting gets an invite to Otter and then Otter starts joining their meetings without their permission or something. I don't know. I don't want to say Otter for sure, but like those kind of AI note takers. So what I like about Granola is it's an app on your desktop and it sits as an ambient note taker. So it never joins your meetings. I always let people know like, hey, I'm just transcribing this meeting for my notes. Is that okay with you? Like, and if they're not okay, I won't record it. But then, of course, it'll record your meeting. I can even turn it on for phone calls, like, and it has everything there. And then I can go in and I can find all my meeting notes. It'll summarize them. I can specify how I want them summarized, and then I can even chat with the meeting. I could be like, "What did I say about that study again?" And it'll literally pull from the transcript and tell me, or like, when did this client want the brief by? And I can just look instead of having to dig through stuff. So that has literally been so helpful and it hasn't been invasive to my privacy or anyone else's. So I would highly recommend that. I do pay for it, but I'm sure they have a free version just to try. I know if you're on the enterprise plan of Gemini or Microsoft Copilot, they have embedded AI note takers, which is wonderful as well. So those are the three ones I use a lot, a lot. I use both on my phone and on the computer. Um, I use one other software pretty often called Poppy AI. Well, it's getpoppy.ai. Um, I the thing about Poppy is it is a great product. It's like a visual whiteboard. So as a content creator, I can actually paste TikToks, I can paste Instagram reels, I can paste YouTube videos, PDFs, websites, recordings, videos, everything, and put it kind of on a Miro or Miro style interface, and then connect it to an AI chat. Um, it's one of the only softwares that can actually see what's happening in a video and understand the transcript, which ChatGPT can't do. So I can like analyze a viral video and then I can be like, okay, tell me how I can apply this to like my niche or give me ideas and stuff like that. So that's really, really cool. The thing about them is they've got some interesting branding. So it kind of doesn't look super professional. And I know I've gotten a lot of my friends who are like marketing and branding geeks, and they're like, I would never use this. I'm like, just try it. And now they're like obsessed with it. But if you want to try it, it's a little pricey, but it gives you access to ChatGPT and Claude and Grok, all the top models. So a lot of people who aren't like super power users will just use Poppy because they can get access to different things. So I use that one a lot for like with the client information. I just add all the videos and stuff and any sort of information on a client or even for my own TikToks and videos and scripting and stuff. I never read off a script, but I kind of use like bullet points if that makes sense. So I'm just trying to think, is there any other I don't use it as often anymore, but Notebook LM is a really good one, and it's the free plan is really generous. That's the one where you can add YouTube videos. It's kind of like Poppy. You can add YouTube videos, you can add documents, websites, and then you can say, Kate, make a podcast, and then it'll have two people talking in a freakishly realistic style
Wow.
podcast. Yeah. So sometimes I'll take a bunch of articles that I want to read, dump them into Notebook LM, and then listen to it on my walk.
That's so useful.
Right? I know, and I'm just like, this is so good. So, I don't think it has a native iPhone app, but you can use the link and have it added to your home screen, but it's really useful. It's just better than just listening to someone read an article. It's like two people actually having a conversation, which is really cool.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to check it out. I haven't
That
heard
was
of
a
most
lot.
of those.
That was a lot. Yeah, but I should honestly just make a TikTok about that and then send you it.
Oh, that's so cool. Is there anything that you're excited about that I forgot to ask?
Oh, anything I'm excited about? I'm excited that like I live in Canada and we're usually 2 years behind the US in terms of like technology and just any general advancements, and people here are finally waking up and starting to use it, and there's government money going towards training and stuff like that, so that's exciting me for sure. um Anything else that excites me? Yeah, I think I'm very cautiously optimistic. I think the new updates are going to be really cool, and if it's used in the right way, I think it can really help a lot of people, just like I talked about, like the doctors or kids who maybe can't access tutoring. Like it's so cool for that aspect, but I think it also worries me because there's a lot of misuse potential. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. What about you?
I'm just excited to hopefully educate people and help them figure out which ways they can use it to help them out and make life less stressful. Because I know that we have obviously so many quick things at our fingertips at our disposal with Uber Eats and all these different things. You just click something on your phone and it shows up. And I think there's somewhere out there like the perfect blend of how to actually sit firmer in our humanity while at the same time using this tech to for pain relief, I guess, whatever that pain is, whether it's professional or personal or circumstantial. I think that there's ways to be human and get in touch with like what really matters to us and then just use these tools to help us move along.
1,000%, and like use it to like enhance your critical thinking, not replace it. And because it's so good at both. So it's up
Yes.
to you on how you use it, right? Yeah. And I love how you're like also a comedian. I'm going to see a comedy show tonight. Oh my God, if AI comedians ever come out, please just end the world. Like honestly, I
I
never
agree.
want to ever experience that in my life. Live comedy is like one of my favorite things ever, and I really don't want it to touch that. Unless it like you can use AIs to get more people more tickets, but I don't
Yeah.
want it touching the creative outlet that is the comedian. So
1000% agree with that. Well, Sophie Theodorou, if people want to learn more about what you're doing, where should they go?
yeah, thanks. I'm at Teach2AI, so teach and then the number two AI on TikTok mainly, on Instagram, also on YouTube. I don't really post too much on YouTube, but mainly TikTok, and then my name on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for doing the show today. I really enjoyed our chat.
Likewise, I always have so much fun talking about this stuff.
Awesome. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye.